Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shay. If you don't know me, welcome. Today we're gonna be doing food prepping, meal prepping, kind of everything above. But if you're new, I share a lot of just my story, who I am as a person, how I'm learning and growing after having weight loss surgery in 2022 and losing 100 pounds. I had so much fun with my last food and meal prepping video that I'm like, I'm gonna do this again because it's like stuff I have to do anyway, so I might as well bring you along with me. If you haven't watched that one, I'll link it in the description. That one was just what I was having that week, so this week looks a little bit different. So a little bit of how I do my food and meal prepping. I usually write out roughly what meals I'm wanting to make for the week, but I keep it open and loose. I have ADD or attention deficit disorder, so if things get too locked down, it makes me want to like not do anything, so I keep it loose. But some of the things we're gonna do today are based on what our life is looking like this week. So tonight I'm actually having my mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law over for dinner with me and my husband. And so we're gonna be making salmon, baked potatoes, veggies, and I wanna do some homemade strawberry ice cream. It's getting to be summer where it's warmer out, and so I just feel like ice cream is a great way to symbolize that. For me, after having bariatric surgery, I can eat sugar in small doses and it does totally fine with me. I try to find more natural sugars, the sugars that you'll find in berries or honey or things like that, but I definitely still have like granulated sugar, brown sugar. Another great substitute is coconut sugar. So for me and my body, that works totally fine. But a lot of the times when I'm like looking for inspiration for recipes, I'll usually do the sugar a bit less than what the recipe calls for because I don't mind how that tastes. I think having less sugar really like enhances the actual flavors of what you're trying to make. So let's start with our strawberry ice cream. I know everybody is like obsessed with the Ninja Creamy, and I'm sure that's an awesome product. I haven't used it myself, but that I feel like seems like a really cool product if you're wanting to do like single serve ice cream or having it be more of like an individual serving. I use the Cuisinart or Cuisinart. How do you say that name? I don't know, but I have their ice cream maker that I really like. So because I'm hosting people and we're gonna want a few servings of this strawberry ice cream, that's why I think it's better to use something like that. So far what I have are some strawberries that I've cut up in this bowl. If you don't know this about me already, I tend not to measure a lot. I do measure a little bit, so you've been warned. This is probably about 1.5 to 2 cups of just diced up strawberries, and I love doing things like strawberry ice cream where I had some strawberries that were just about to go bad, and so it's a great way to use those up because you won't be able to tell that they're going bad in here. We're gonna eat the ice cream tonight, it'll be fine. So I have the diced up strawberries in there, and then I have about 2 tablespoons of just honey I put in there, and just a couple dashes of lime juice. If you're using a real lime, you could probably do maybe like half a lime or a full lime. I think either is fine. And then I also put 1/4 cup of just granulated cane sugar over the top so it could kind of get nice and kind of like break down the strawberries a little bit more. So it's just been sitting here for a couple minutes or so. I've made ice cream lots of different ways. I've made dairy-free ice creams before. I've made ice cream with like eggs in it, but some of the recipes I found for this strawberry ice cream didn't have you go through the process of doing like an egg-based ice cream. So I'm like, that works for me. I kind of just want to get this done. And I feel like when you do an egg-based ice cream, it's just a lot richer. And so like if you're going for like a vanilla bean ice cream and like the main star is that like vanilla, then I think doing an egg-based ice cream is really good. But since the strawberries are really the show of this ice cream, I think this will work just fine. So I'm gonna use a potato masher to just kind of mash up the strawberries. I want it to be where the ice cream is pink. So I kind of want to break up the strawberries a little bit more so it causes that pink color. But I also really like having fresh whole strawberries, or not whole strawberries, but strawberry chunks in the ice cream so you can tell like that it's real strawberries, it's fresh. So I kind of like using the masher for that reason because it'll kind of give me a mix of all of that. So I'm just gonna kind of mash them together. Okay, that looks pretty good. The thing with homemade ice cream is it's just kind of a process, and you have to think ahead a little bit when you're making it. So typically I like to make this ice cream mixture and actually have it store in the fridge overnight, but I just couldn't be bothered with doing it yesterday. So I'm kind of doing this in the morning, and by nighttime it'll be well cooled. The biggest thing too is when you're doing more of an egg-based ice cream, you really want that to be fully cold before you put it in the ice cream maker. And when you're doing an egg-based, you actually use the stove. It's kind of more of an intense process. So because we're not doing that with this recipe, I think it'll be fine by tonight. The other thing you have to plan for is you have to have the container that actually goes into the ice cream maker frozen, I think for at least 24 hours. This is our first ice cream of the season, so it's been in our freezer for months now without use, so I know that'll be fine, but just some things to consider before you kind of go through the process of making ice cream. So to our strawberry mixture, I'm just gonna add some vanilla extract, maybe like a teaspoon, but again, I'm kind of just eyeballing it. That'll bring out some really good flavor. If you have like whole vanilla beans or like bean paste, that would be really good in there as well. I just don't have that right now. And then I'm just gonna add a little dash of salt, and you really wanna make sure that you add salt to anything sweet. It just really enhances the flavor and it makes a difference. Now that I have that all in there, I'm just gonna add 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. Which is basically a pint. I'm just gonna add the rest. And then I have Fairlife whole milk. I'm gonna add a cup of this in there. And then we're gonna just stir it together. I feel kind of weird because this ice cream recipe is just really easy. And like I said, usually when I do ice cream, it's kind of more of a process. So I'm excited to try this one and see if the process that I normally do is worth it, or I might just go to doing ice cream like this because it's very easy. So I'm just trying to scrape. There's a little bit of honey that I'm kind of getting stuck on. So I just kind of really want to incorporate that well. And then I'm using a bowl that has a lid, so I can just pop the lid on top, put it in the fridge, and it's nice. Like, this is just a one bowl wonder. I love it when I can do that and I don't have to dirty a bunch of dishes. It's a really pretty pink color. Kind of hard to tell in this light, but it's a really pretty pink color. You guys will just have to trust me. There are still big chunks of strawberry in here, which is exactly what we're wanting. Other ways that I've made ice cream with the ice cream maker is whole fat coconut milk that comes in a can. That's a great dairy alternative to use for ice cream because it's like really thick and you still get like that creamy consistency. So that's a great substitute. I'd look up a recipe for that though, because just to get like proper ratios and whatnot. This summer, I really want to try in the ice cream maker doing frozen yogurt. I haven't done that before, but I think that would be really fun to try. So that's definitely on my list for this summer. All right, that looks all mixed. I'm just gonna pop a lid on this, get it in the fridge, and then at the end of the video, I will show you our taste test and show you how it turned out. All right, next I'm gonna marinate our salmon. So I'm gonna do kind of like a sweet and spicy Asian inspired teriyaki salmon. That was very long. I will shorten the name of that. So I'm gonna use liquid aminos as my base, which is similar to a soy sauce. It's just a little bit different, but it has a lot of the same flavors. So I'm gonna just add that in this kind of elongated glass pan that I have, and this is gonna be the start of our base. I love marinating salmon like this because it allows you to make a really simple, easy sauce with not a ton of ingredients, but it'll taste really, really good. So I basically just covered this pan so it's all liquid aminos. I'm gonna add a little bit of sriracha, and that's where we're gonna get a little bit of the spice. And I don't want it to be like too overpowering with that, so I'm just gonna do kind of like a drizzle. And then for some of our seasonings, we're getting a lot of sodium just from this liquid aminos. So I'm not gonna add any salt to this. I'm just gonna enhance the flavor that is already there. So I'm gonna do just a little bit of garlic powder. I'm gonna do some ground ginger just to give it a little bit of warmth. And then just to add a little bit more heat, we're gonna do some crushed red pepper. And then the sweetness is gonna come from coconut sugars. Coconut sugar is similar to brown sugar. It just is lower on the glycemic index. So can be like a good alternative if that's something you're looking out for. I'm gonna just do like maybe a tablespoon just to kind of sprinkle it in there. That's where we're gonna get more of the sweetness from. And then I'm just gonna whisk this all together. And then I'm just gonna put the salmon flesh side down so that way it can absorb all of this yummy sauce that we just made. And then I'm gonna let it marinate. It'll probably be about 8 hours that we let it marinate, and then we'll throw it on the Traeger. So I'm just kind of pressing the salmon in just to make sure all of the flesh parts are in the sauce. And then I'm just gonna pop a lid on this, keep it in the fridge to let it marinate. I'm so excited, this is gonna be so good. One of the other things that we're gonna be making this week are steaks. So I just have some beautiful ribeye steaks here. This is like a really easy prep. I don't do a lot to our steaks at all. I just usually do some of this Lawry's seasoning salt and pepper. I know this seems kind of silly because it's like I'm not gonna do a lot, but I really like to season it and then put it in a container and have like a dry rub marinade. And then it's also nice because then it's like ready to go on the grill. I don't have to be like doing other stuff. It's like I can just give this to my husband. He's usually the one that grills and be like, okay, it's ready to go. So I know it's kind of like an extra step that might not seem necessary, but for me, it's really helpful just to have this. So while I'm doing my other food prep, I can just get this ready to go and it's done. So that's all I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna season the first side. And you can honestly just do plain salt and pepper. I just like the flavor of the seasoning salt. But I think if you do too much to steaks, again, you're not really like enhancing the flavor at that point. You're kind of distracting from the flavor. So that's why I usually just do salt and pepper for grilling up steaks. And then I'm just gonna put this face down. And then I'm gonna season the other side. So now that seasoning will just kind of seep in. I'll be ready to go when it's time to throw them on the grill, and easy as that. Another thing that we typically do every week is we typically always marinate some chicken thighs. So I love using G. Hughes. Their marinades are awesome, or you can just make your own. We're gonna be making something a little bit later that can double as a salad dressing and a marinade, but sometimes it's like I just can't be bothered, so I really like G. Hughes in those situations. So we just have some chicken thighs marinating. I think we did like a teriyaki sauce this time. So that way when we're lighting the grill up, we can get that salmon on there. We could do the steaks, we could do the chicken, and kind of just have all of our proteins cooked for the week. So that's a great option. It's really all about prepping and thinking through things and planning and prepping a bit, so that way it'll make it easier for your week ahead. So one of the things on my list for what we're eating this week are Greek bowls. And I'm just gonna prep a little like Greek inspired salsa. I think there's probably a better name for it, but that's just what I call it. And whenever I'm thinking like Greek food, I always think red onions, tomatoes, cucumbers at kind of the base of everything. And so I'm just gonna do kind of like a hodgepodge of those things and kind of make it into a salsa. So that way when we make our Greek bowls, that'll be a really yummy added topping on those. So I just have an English cucumber that I washed. And I don't love cucumber seeds, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut these down the center and take those seeds out. Easiest way I've found with taking out cucumber seeds is just to get a little spoon and scrape it out. So I'm gonna do that. And then I'm just gonna dice them up kind of small just because that's how I like them, but you can do it however you fancy. Okay, and then I'm just gonna quarter some little tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes, and then these are just kind of like a mixed medley of little tomatoes, and then I'll put that in there. Okay, and honestly, because I'm just making like a little batch of this, I'm probably not gonna use any of those tomatoes, but I'll save them for something else. Now for our red onion, I'm gonna put about 1/4 of this onion in my little mixture that I'm making. And then I'm actually gonna put probably about half of this red onion in this bowl for what we have coming up next. That's kind of good, I think. So it'll probably be about 1/8 of an onion actually that I'm putting in there because I don't want to overwhelm that too much. So I'll probably just cut up actually this other 1/4 of an onion and use it for this part. Fun fact I learned about cutting onions: if you wear contacts, it actually creates a barrier to where it doesn't make my eyes water unless, you know, obviously I like rub my face or something. So fun fact, if you wear contacts when you are dicing up onions, it might be a good time to make sure you have them in. All right, we'll save these onions for later. So now that I have my diced up cucumbers, onions, and tomatoes, I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil, just a little drizzle, you don't need a lot. And then I'm gonna do just a little bit of lime juice. If I had lemon juice, I'd probably do that, but I just forgot to get lemons. So just a little bit, and that'll help kind of keep it crisp and fresh. When I'm making any recipe, I'm always thinking about the flavors and what kind of makes it Greek or Mexican or whatever, or Asian style, whatever food I'm trying to go for. And this Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning is perfect for stuff like this. It does have salt in it, so I'm not gonna add additional salt. I'm just gonna sprinkle it with this seasoning, and it's really good. And then I'm just gonna give it a stir. And you can get fancy with this. Like if I was wanting to do maybe like a Greek salad to bring with me to a barbecue or something, you could add pasta to it, maybe some like olives. I just don't like olives very much. You could do some garbanzo beans would be really good in here, or chickpeas, however you want to say it. But again, this is going to be for adding to a Greek bowl, so I'm just keeping it kind of simple. So now that we have that all done, I'm also trying to think through what components I want to my Greek bowl. We have a little Greek salsa that we will add. Anything Greek, I usually always will do feta because everything is better with feta. I have some marinated artichoke hearts that I think would be really good. I'll probably use some like greens as a base, but then I really want like a hearty protein source to go in these bowls that I'm making. So I did not grow up eating lamb, and so that's been another meat that I've been learning how to prepare it. So the next recipe we're gonna do is for Greek inspired meatballs, and these are so good. I'm so excited to make these. So these meatballs are so good. I'm so excited to make these. I've only made them one other time, but they turned out so good. So I'm just gonna be using a pound of ground lamb and a pound of ground beef. Then I already have our diced onion, which ended up being 1/4 of a red onion. And I'm just gonna add the meats in there, and then also some of this Trader Joe's aioli garlic mustard sauce, some minced garlic, and then a lot, not too much, but a lot of this Greek seasoning, and it is so good. I love using my mixer for meat like this. It just makes it a bit easier to kind of really blend it together well. You want to be careful when you're using a mixer or just even mixing it by hand that you don't overmix the meat, or else it'll kind of get tough and not super great. So just something to be aware of and mindful of. I'm just gonna add this hamburger in. This was from my Costco haul that I posted not too long ago. I'll link it here so you can watch it. But I love having these little hamburger bags frozen so I can just pull it out and use it whenever I want it. It makes it so easy for stuff like this. So I'm gonna add some garlic in, some of this aioli garlic mustard, and then I'm gonna just do like a drizzle of olive oil. We're gonna actually sear these meatballs in olive oil as well, but I just kind of want to add a little bit to kind of just help it combine. And then some of our Greek seasoning. This is quite a bit of meat, so I'm kind of seasoning it generously. And then I'm gonna just add a little bit more black pepper in here. And then I'm gonna give it a stir. These look and smell good already. I'm gonna just use an ice cream scooper. See, full circle, we started with ice cream, we're coming back to ice cream here to make my meatballs, so that way they're all relatively the same size, and I'm just gonna put them over here in this little bowl. I have my Dutch oven in the back, just starting to pick up heat. I have it like medium high, kind of in the middle there with some olive oil in there. So I'm gonna get my meatballs all rolled up and ready to go. I'll sear them on either side in the Dutch oven, and then I'll pour a little bit of beef bone broth in the bottom and then bake them for the rest of the time in a 375-degree oven for about, I would say, 20 to 25 minutes. While I'm rolling these, if you guys don't already follow me on Instagram and TikTok, make sure you do. I'm mostly on Instagram, if I'm being honest. TikTok, great for a lot of reasons, just hasn't been a platform that I've related to super closely. So I'm on Instagram a lot, but I put lots of other like recipe videos. I share more of my story and like resources on there. So if you haven't already followed me on those platforms, what are you doing? Go hang out with me, say hi. All right, I'm gonna get these searing in the Dutch oven. Ooh, it is very hot. Maybe a little too hot. We're gonna get that seared. I'm gonna pour in a little bit of beef bone broth, put the lid on my Dutch oven, and then bake it for another 20 minutes or so. And I think the last thing that we really need for our Greek bowls is a Greek dressing. So a lot of this is gonna look familiar to you because we just used a lot of it on our meatballs and our Greek salsa that we did. And that's why I kind of fall more in that food prepping versus meal prepping, because I love that you can kind of like mix and match and customize what you're making so it doesn't get boring and stale. So this Greek dressing would be so good if you were doing like a big salad and you had, you know, all of your greens, you had your meatballs, your feta, maybe some marinated artichoke hearts, and you just wanted a little something to kind of bring it all together. This is what will bring it all together. So I'm gonna use some good olive oil, and there's different olive oils depending on the purpose of what you're using it for. If you do like an extra virgin olive oil, that's great for like dressings, anything that you want flavor infused in, an extra virgin olive oil will be great for that. If you're wanting to do like homemade mayonnaise or something that you don't want like a strong flavor to, they have like light tasting olive oils. So that's something that I would use if I was doing something like that. But we really do want this to be like a full body flavor. So that's why I'm just using extra virgin olive oil. And again, I just eyeball it. So that's probably about good. The biggest difference that I see between salad dressings and marinades is that, and this could be totally wrong, this is just how I see it, I don't know if this is accurate, but marinades tend to be a bit thicker and salad dressings tend to be a bit thinner. And so I typically keep dressings like this a bit thicker and then just add water depending on what I'm using it for. So that's probably about good with the olive oil. And then we want to add some type of acid. So you can do, I'm just doing my lime juice again since we use that in a couple other things, but you can do any type of vinegar would be good, lime juice, orange juice, whatever you have on hand. I'm gonna add more of this aioli mustard, that's so good. And that's really like the base of the dressing. Then I'm just gonna season it with this all-purpose Greek seasoning. And again, because this is gonna be used as a dressing, we don't wanna overdo it, but we definitely don't wanna underdo it either. So I'm just gonna do that, and then I'm gonna just add a little bit more black pepper. And since I know that this is gonna be more of a salad dressing, I'm gonna add just a little bit of water just to kind of thin it out a little. And then I'm just gonna pop the lid on it. And that's why I love these mason jars, because again, you can just shake it up in here and then you can store it in here as well. And there you have it, some easy Greek dressing. That's gonna be so good in our Greek bowls. One thing I didn't make that I typically make when I'm making Greek inspired food is a tzatziki sauce, and that is so easy to do. I just honestly forgot about it. So if you wanna do a tzatziki sauce, all it is just plain Greek yogurt, and then I like to shred in some cucumbers in there, some lemon juice, some lemon zest, salt, pepper, or you can do some of that Greek seasoning and just mix it up, and then you have homemade tzatziki sauce. All right, the last thing I'm gonna prep with you guys here today are potatoes. I love potatoes. I feel like they're such an undervalued vegetable carb source. I don't know, they're like a bit of everything. I love having just cooked potatoes potatoes on hand so I can add it to omelets I'm making. I can just have it plain or like load it up with cheese and butter and chives. So I'm just gonna cook up some potatoes. What usually prevents me from making potatoes is how long they take typically to bake in the oven to do like a baked potato. And that's why I love my Instapot for potatoes. So I have 7 potatoes that I'm cooking. I have the little attachment that looks like this. I have that in there. I know there's a name for it, I'm just forgetting it. And then I have about a cup of water in there. So I'm just gonna put these potatoes in. You just wanna make sure that they're not too overcrowded, which these are on the brink of, but I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna close the lid and make sure that it's sealed at the top, and I'm just gonna have these cook for about 22 minutes, and then they'll be perfect potatoes.
My first time making the official recipe, so
I will let you know.
I'm okay right now, thank you. What do you think?
Perfect. So good. Oh, that's Dylan, that's perfect.
All right.
Homemade ice cream. Thank you.
Welcome. You'll have to try it and give
I will.
all right, we gotta
Happily.
get first
You want some
impressions. Just a little.
Okay.
Like maybe even half of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want any like?
So good.
Maybe a little bit.
I mean, the fresh strawberry chunks. It's delicious. Oh, yeah. It's so creamy, Shay. Oh my goodness.
creamy.
So creamy.
Thank you guys for joining me today in all my food prepping adventures. I hope you had fun. I did for sure. Comment below, do you like these videos? Do you want to see more of them? I'm food prepping and making food pretty much every week. So if that's something that you want to see more of, just let me know. And if you're not already, I would really appreciate if you subscribed and also turned on that notification bell so you can see when I share new videos. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next one.